Hi everyone, welcome to our channel Bio Explorers. Dear explorers, in this class we will see the continuation of the Orchidaceae family. So this is the second part of Orchidaceae. If you not seen the first part of Orchidaceae, I have given the link in the description box. You will find and check it out. So in this class, we will see the inflorescent flowers and sexual features of the Orchidaceae family. So first one is inflorescence. What is inflorescence? It's the arrangement of flowers on a floral stalk. There are two kinds of inflorescence. One is racemose, another one is cymose inflorescence. So in racemose inflorescence, the main axis grows continuously, whereas in cymose inflorescence, the main axis does not grow continuously. So in racemose inflorescence, the young flowers are located at the tip and the mature flowers or old flowers are located at the base. For example, in Orchidaceae, bulbophyllum nailgrens shows the racemose inflorescence. Oberonia species shows spike inflorescence. Spike is also a kind of racemose inflorescence. Here, the flowers do not have the pedicels. Oncidium species shows panicle inflorescence. So, in panicle inflorescence, it shows branched flower cluster where each branch has one or more flowers. The Orchidaceae members is also showing the umbellate inflorescence. So in umbellate inflorescence, multiple pedicels are arranged at a common point. Example, bulbophyllum albidum. Next, solitary flowers are also seen in the Orchidaceae members. Example, Cypripedium species. Here, the single flower is located at the tip of the plant. Renanthera laui showing the spike inflorescence. Here, the spike is several feet long. Now we pass on to the floral features of Orchidaceae. The flowers are bracteate, bracteolate, zygomorphic, epigynous, trimerous, either bisexual or unisexual. For example, for bisexual is Christostylis species and for unisexual is Catasetum species. So the flower is either pedicellate or sessile. It's showy and brightly colored. Uh, in sometimes the flowers are very small and colorless in nature. Example, Neotia species. Now we pass on to the perianth part. I have already mentioned in the first part of the video. In Orchidaceae, we can't able to differentiate the sepals and petals. So instead of that, we completely describe it as a perianth, and the single unit of perianth is known as tepals. So here, the total number of tepals are 6, which is arranged in the two walls of 3 each. The tepals are free or variously fused in each wall. They are superior and irregular in nature. Sometimes the perianth shows distinct calyx and corolla, so which means the outer membrane sometimes green. That's why we can able to differentiate the uh, calyx tepals into calyx and corolla based on the color of the tepals. So the perianth is either petaloid or sepaloid and petaloid. For example, for sepaloid and petaloid perianth is Cypripedium pubescens. In Mestivelia, the sepals are much larger than the petals. In Zeusine species, the anterior tepal of the outer wall is fused with the two lateral tepals of the inner wall. In Papilopedalum species, the two lateral outer tepals are fused and the third anterior one is being free. In Habenaria species, the outer perianth lobes are similar, whereas in Cypripedium species and Orchid species, the outer perianth lobes are dissimilar. Whereas in all other orchid members, the inner wall of perianth lobe is dissimilar in nature. The estivation is either imbricate or valvate estivation. In Orchidaceae members, the special tepal is there. That specialized tepal is known as labellum or lip. So in Orchidaceae members, the two tepals are look similar, whereas the posterior tepal is much differentiated in size, shape and color. That modified tepal is known as labellum or lip. Very rarely, the labellum is formed of odd sepal. The main function of this labellum or lip is which act as a landing place for insects during pollination process. So it is flexible in some species. Example, Phalaenopsis species. Generally, in Orchidaceae members, the labellum is showy and it shows various shapes. For example, in Cattleya species, the labellum is tubular in nature. In Zygopetalum species, it's horseshoe shaped. And in Vanilla species, the labellum is sac shaped. In Papillopedalium species, the labellum is spotted, whereas in Epipactis helleborniae, it does not showing any spots. In some orchids, the labellum is pisted or resupinated, which means the pistil or ovary are twisted to 180-degree angle or upside down. That twisting or resupination facilitates the insects to do the entomophilous pollination. So in some orchids, the labellum is not twisted or resupinated. For example, Satyrium species, Polystachya species and Prophidia species, there is no resupination. In Orchidaceae members, sometimes the lateral sepals are connected together to form a sac-like structure. That sac-like structure is known as mentum archin, which is generally sac or spur-like in nature, which is connected in which the nectar secreting cells are located. So now we pass on to the male reproductive part, androecium. So in androecium, which is in which the stamens are generally joined with the style and stigma. So it form a gynostemium or column or gynandrum structure, which means the male and female parts are joined together to form a single structure. That structure is known as gynostemium or column or gynandrum. So which is located opposite to the labellum. And in Orchidaceae members, which are also showing the clinandrum condition, which is nothing but a cavity or area in which the anther is situated on the column. The anthers are generally sessile, which means that does not having a filament. Dithecous, intros. Intros is nothing but a releasing of pollen towards the center of the flower, opening on the longitudinal slits. The anthers are opening on the longitudinal slits. So in Orchidaceae members, the pollen grains are aggregated to form a pollinium. That pollinium is a waxy mass of pollen grains which held together by a glue-like alkaloid resin. So resin is a chemical substance which is generally clear, sticky and tasteless in nature. A pollinia is composed of two separate pollinium in which that is connected to a sticky gland. That gland is known as viscidulum. Each pollinium is connected to a filament which can take to form a cordicle or type. So cordicle is shown in Dactylorhiza species and Habenaria species, and stipe is shown in Vanda species. Generally, in Orchidaceae members, the flowers are showing the monandrous or diandrous condition. So monandrous means the odd stamen of the outer wall alone is fertile, while the other two stamens are sterile in nature, which is a form of a glands or appendages are reduced into staminodes. So staminodes are nothing but sterile stamens. So these staminodes are derived from a lateral stamen of the inner wall. For example, in Orchis species, which showing a single fertile stamen and two sterile stamens or staminodes. In Cypripedium species and Apostasia species, which is showing the dianthus condition, which means the two fertile stamens are located at the lateral position of the inner wall are fertile, while the odd stamen of the outer wall is sterile, which form a shield over the column. In Nuvidia species, all three stamens are fertile in nature and there is no staminodes. Now we pass on to the female reproductive part, that is gynoecium. So in Orchidaceae members, the gynoecium is generally tricarpellary and syncarpous in nature. The ovary is inferior, unilocular, and the ovules are located on the parietal placentation or axial placentation. So in Apostasia and Nuvidia species, the ovules are located on the axial placentation. So generally in Orchidaceae members, the ovules are numerous, minute, unitechnic, and it shows anatrophous ovules. So stigma is 3, smooth, viscid, flat cushion-like structure, which is a receptive space of pollen grains during pollination. In Orchidaceae members, the rosicillum is also present, which is nothing but a modified stigma, which is a sterile portion of the central stigma that forms a cap around the anther. so which generally act as a protective covering over the anther. So in monandrous form, only two lateral are fertile and receptive, while the third stigma is sterile in nature. That third stigma is generally forms a cap, that is rosatellum. So in diandrous condition, three stigmas are receptive, and the rosatellum is situated below the fertile and terminal solitary anther. Example, Cypripedium species and Papilopedium species. In Goodera species, the rosatellum is lying in the center of the gynostemium between the anther and the fertile stigma. Now we pass on to the pollination process. So pollination is nothing but the process in which the pollen grains are shed on the stigma. So in Orchidaceae members, it shows entomophilous type of pollination, which is nothing but the insect mediated pollination. So here the insects are main pollinators, which is attracted by the shape and colors of the labellum. Batrospora species is a male fruit flies which is attracted towards the bulbophyllum species because of the showy labellum. Some orchids are showing the self-pollination too. For example, Holcoglossum amaesianum species showing the self-pollination. So here the pollinia directly fall on the stigma, or the anther may rotate and enter the stigma cavity of the flower. So that time that anther shed the pollen grains on the stigma. After pollination, the sepals and petals are fade and wilt, but they usually remain attached to the ovary. The Orchidaceae members showing the capsule fruit type, which is generally dehiscent, which is generally a dry fruits, or in sometimes it is fleshy in nature, which is dehisced by 3 to 6 longitudinal slits while remaining closed at the both ends. The seeds are microscopic in nature, very numerous, light and non-endospermic. During the dispersal process, they are blown away by the wind due to the light weight. The floral formula is bracteate, zygomorphic, bisexual, perianth 3 plus 3, either united or free, androecium 1 to 3, and gynoecium 3, which is fused. The ovary is inferior in nature, and both androecium and gynoecium are united. So now we pass on to the advanced features of Orchidaceae members. Generally, the plants are herbs in nature. The leaves are exstipulate. It's showing the adventitious roots, whereas the fibrous and taproot system are features of the primitive ones. The flowers are generally showing a different shape, size, and color, which is also showing the small and inconspicuous flowers. The flowers are zygomorphic, which is due to the presence of the labellum. The flowers are generally showing the reduction number of stamens, which is also the advanced features of angiosperms. The Orchidaceae member showing the stamens which is adhered with the stigma to form a column. The carpels are 3, syncarpus, and inferior ovary is showing, that is also the advanced features. In Apostasia, the fertile lobes of stigma are reduced into 2. So the pollen grains are aggregated to form a pollinia, that is also an advanced feature. The fruit is capsule type and the seeds are non-endospermic, minute, light weighted, that is also an advanced features. Now we pass on to the economic importance of the Orchidaceae members. Generally, the plants are used for food, flavor, medicine and dye. For example, in Habaneria sane and Orchis latifolia, which is used for feeding purpose. The dried immature parts of vanilla planifolia and vanilla fragrance used to yield the vanilla flavor, which is an essential flavor for making foods, especially ice creams. The root stalks of Eulophia ephidendrus used for vermifuge, and the leaves of Vanda roxburghi used for the medicine as to clear the rheumatism. The leaves of Calanthe veratifolia is used to make a dye, that is indigo blue color dye, because of the presence of the glycoside indican, which yields the indigo blue color dye. This is what the family of Orchidaceae. Thank you for your quiet listening.